Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Adams, the Vice Chairman of the Trees and Greenery Committee, standing in for Peter Loughlin, who has some personal issues. First item of business is acceptance of the minutes of the June 8th meeting. Any comments, corrections? If not, they stand approved as presented. We have one set of tree removal requests for the 8 red maples at Pierce Island.
I believe it's just to clarify, I think it's 6. It should be 6 red maples.
Yeah, it's listed as 6 on the agenda.
Yeah, just make sure. Actually, Peter, do you want to speak to that? I know the trees, but I'm not as familiar with the project.
Yeah, so the removals are associated with the pool renovation project that's been underway in design for probably 3 years now. The existing block filter building is not adequate to house the equipment necessary to, have a modern filtration system for the pool. And given its location, we need to move it away from the shoreline more to better comply with wetlands permits and things like that. And that crowds the area with these 4 red maples. Looking at it, we're going to be in the root zone. We're going to damage them, and we could leave them, but it'll be a slow death. Talking to Chuck, we feel it's better just to bite the bullet, remove them, and go ahead and plant some alternative trees in the location just far enough away from the building. So that's really the genesis of the need.
I did see where the work would be done, and I think it's a guaranteed death. So if we do leave them, we'd be now in it for a lot of work to remove them in 2 years, just with our tree crew, as opposed to right now. I believe it would be part of the project.
We just roll it into the project.
So it'd save us money in the long run. And we would want to replant out there, which we have been doing, but we could have a few others. It's unfortunate, but I saw where the work would be done. I would be amazed if they'd be getting destroyed on that whole side of them.
Is it a new water line or just the actual powerhouse pump station?
It's called a surge tank, and so it's a large underground vault, and then the pump area for the filter building, the filters themselves, and pipes to and from the pool. So it's deep. It's not just a at grade type thing where you could potentially use a lightweight aggregate not to crush the roots. You're down into the roots.
It's really too bad. When I looked at them, there's so little shade at the pool, and I could see people were sitting there and trying to enjoy the little bit of shade that it offers. And some of those are beautiful red maples. I mean, I took pictures of them. I mean, a couple of them, one of them definitely should have been removed because it's not doing well, but so again, conflicted, I understand the need, and I don't think a slow death is good thing either.
And we could try to take, minimize the number we take down and see if they survive. Talking to Chuck and looking at it, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Well, can we have a motion for removal, and then we can have discussion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion now.
Yeah.
So if you minimized it, what would that be? 4 removed, 2 stay, or what would
We'd
that
have to
be?
work with Chuck and see as we're doing the work. Dig down and see if we're getting into the roots as much as we think they're going to be, and if there's a potential to salvage any of them. So I would, if you were going to do that, we would say, approve all 6, and then we would do, we work to try to see if we can save any of them.
You concur, AJ?
It would, because he's going to have to make some on-site decisions. And when you get it, we're not stopping this and coming back to us, in a month or so. I mean, you're going to be down there and you're going to look at it and be like, yeah, okay, it's okay.
Yeah, the time frame too is that, you know, if you can imagine a project of this magnitude and then having the pool have to be open next summer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You know, it's like, I will not live in town.
No, you won't. No.
And once you start really looking at the tree a little closer, and they all look great when you look at them quick, you know what I mean? Start looking at, you know, we've all seen trees where you don't see something when you first get into it, and start looking around the backside a little bit better and all that kind of stuff. He's gonna see some stuff at the roots that we can't, you know, we can't see. So he has to be able to make a judgment. You know, if you want some of them to stay, then you can probably keep a couple, but they're gonna have severe impacts. I mean, it's a tough site to be a tree, and there's gonna be the construction. I mean, so you're adding up a couple of problems with this.
Go ahead.
I play at the volleyball court quite a bit, and there's 2 trees within the court that are slated for removal. I have mixed feelings about that because I think sometimes the 2 of them will prevent a loose ball from going into the pool. Might increase the height of the fence right there. That would be a suggestion, but on the other hand, the roots of those trees seem to just go horizontally, and actually we're encroaching on the border of that sand court. And some of us did some volunteer work and started digging up the roots, because some of the roots were breaking through the sand, and myself, I stepped on a couple of those things while running after a loose ball. That hurt.
Sir, would you, for the record, introduce yourself and where you live?
Yeah, my name's Tom Spark. I'm a resident of Portsmouth, 133 Lincoln Avenue.
Thank you. Any further comments?
No.
Unfortunately, I just think due to the nature of the work, we'll be cleaning up a mess in 2 years ourselves, and then be at the same spot 2 years later, you know, which I think it's difficult. And I agree about the shade, particularly in that section, but it's one of these things where there's infrastructure going in,
Yes.
and we can't stop that. So might as well be proactive.
Is there any money in the budget for some umbrellas? Because the shade is a problem there.
You know, that's a rec department question.
Yes.
But I do know, I work with them very closely, and I do know that they're aware of this, and that the anticipation is either some sort of pergola or something. That,
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Something that, and the thought is that above the surge tank, there'd be a flat deck area that people can sit on. So, so it's not, I mean, it's
getting
not all
friendlier.
bad. And this is a legacy type of investment. You know, the pool's been there for what, 100 years. You know, the bathhouse, existing bathhouse is
The largest outdoor pool on the East Coast.
yeah, and this sure there's some sort of superlative to go with it.
Yeah.
It's massive.
It is nice.
But it's a gem. I mean,
It is.
my
It's
kids
so
learned to swim there. I've been going there, you know, for 40, 50 years.
And positioned so beautifully, right on the river.
Yeah.
It's
So this is an investment, you know, and we will plant, and trees will come back, and you know, our kids and grandkids will have shade.
Regarding the pool, it's probably not commonly known, but it was started in 1946. And originally it was fed by salt water.
Salt water, yeah.
The Scottsbluff River. So it shows how soft we become.
I'd love to have to filter that.
That water would never get warm.
I bet not.
That's why no one of our generation
Really can swim.
learned to swim.
I had the sharks that got in there at one time. And
There was a picture recently posted, and I don't know whether it was in conjunction with just public awareness, but there's about 8 or 10 of us seated on the edge of the pool for an 8 o'clock swimming lesson. Brian Rafferty was the instructor of that class. I'm the last kid down in the end. Just
Right.
frozen. You'd have to chop the ice to get them.
Yes.
I only remember it as you know, fed by water, not ocean or river water. And then Babe Malloy and Lauren Aliberti, who were teachers at the Portsmouth High School, they were in charge of the maintenance and lifeguard support. And I remember they would go out with a 5-gallon bucket with these little discs of white chlorine about the size of a hockey puck. Every morning, just throw it.
Good for it.
You could actually dive down and write your initials in silt on the water.
Yeah.
It wasn't clean as it is today by any means.
Yeah. And he had the high dive at the time.
Oh,
Went off that many times.
Yeah.
Fighting.
when did that come down?
When Sawtell renovated the pool, probably back in '82.
Oh,
It's been going on a while.
And we renovated it again in 2002.
Well, that's your history lesson.
we always appreciate that.
If there's no further discussion, those in favor of the motion to remove the red maples?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, so the motion carries. Next, we have update from Chuck.
Right now we are in full watering mode. Got a little rain yesterday, but there's really 2 days a week right now that staff are watering all of this year and last year's trees. The lists are combined. And we're looking pretty good. There's a couple, as we mentioned, mortalities that at least one of them will replant this fall. But we're looking good. On top of that, this is the time of year we get a ton of service requests from residents for pruning. We don't keep up with it. We can do the best we can. And it's usually about a 2-week wait currently. But if it's an emergency, it goes to the front of the list. But it's a lot of keeping up with pruning requests and also requests from the trash truck. That truck or his employees are getting whacked by limbs. We're on those streets raising those. That's a priority if you see them out there, because emergency vehicles like fire and trash need to get down the roads quickly. Some longer term projects this summer, we're looking to redo the porous pavement on Porter Street. There's all those Zelkovas, that section of Porter Street, and that porous pavement, we now do this all in-house, and everything downtown was done in-house, but before we did it in-house, that was contracted, and it's an inferior product to what we use now. So we're gonna cut those all out and redo them, as well as finish the downtown trees that don't have it.
So are they like mats?
No, it turns into that, but think of it as it's actually a bag of stone, it's recycled truck tires, and we combine them in a mixer and you add in a binder. So it's kind of like making a Rice Krispie treat.
It's exactly, we thought it was like, we just did it in Durham. It's exactly like Rice Krispie treats.
Yep, and then you just lay that out by hand, and it has a cure time of, depends on the weather, but I think it's like 12 hours. It's good weather. But yeah, that's a summer project we're looking to get done probably in the next month or so. And it's really effective. It really is. The trees have done well with it, and it keeps trash out. We don't have to worry about trash. There's nowhere for the trash to go, and the water passes through freely. And we've demoed that. We have a cookie of it, and you can pour water and it just goes straight through, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and other than that, that's what we've got going on. Already have a lot of requests for planting for next spring. Those are coming in, so we're organizing the 400 trees. What's going on around that? We've in the early phases of, I think AJ can speak to that a little bit, but working with a nursery we'll plant 200 trees as city staff instead of the 100 or so we plant. And we'll have basically a tree drive for residents. We'll have another 200 trees brought in that folks can come pick up their tree and plant them wherever they please in the city, in their yards or side yards or backyards. So, yeah.
Well, that ties in with the next agenda item, which is the 400.
Before we leave, could I just check? Do you you said that it's winter is a good time to prune.
Yes.
And I don't know if people really realize that, or they think that's just an impossible sort of thing. So perhaps every time somebody requests, you might shoot back. Winter time is available as well.
Well, I can tell
just
you,
to educate.
Oh yeah. And the reason is they don't see it until the leaves are touching their house.
Right.
So if you don't see it, maybe the untrained eye doesn't know. But yeah, it is true. Winter's a good time until it's not a good time. It depends on the winter,
Yeah.
When we're in plowing mode, there's
3
weeks or so where people are like recovering from the past 2 weeks of storms. But yes, it is worth spreading the word about that.
Okay, yesterday, Deborah Shag and I met with Valerie Rochon, who's apparently heading up the whole 400 project. And I'll turn to you, Deborah, and summarize what we discussed.
We just introduced ourselves, and Dick gave a tremendous history of the trees and greenery, and Valerie really appreciated knowing where we've come from. We just started conversations, and it's really kind of in DPW's ball, what's going to happen, and AJ and how it's going to roll out. But we kind of arrived that they can PR it, they can message it, and they could also do a community rally around for the residents for learning how to plant properly and how to water properly, and also rally the troops to do plantings in places that perhaps citizens aren't choosing to plant, such as in some of our lower income neighborhoods. So that was a conversation that we talked about, and they want to be as inclusive as possible. That's a big theme for not just downtown Portsmouth, but downtown and all around. And so we will just connect with you guys and see how we can be the liaisons with what she has to offer and what you need, what we need. And anything else?
I think you covered it quite well.
Okay.
So if we could, just to that end, we've met, AJ, Chuck and I met to kind of talk about the mechanisms of process of how we anticipate doing this. As Chuck said, we're going to be doing 200 within the city staff, which is going to be a significant challenge relative to watering.
Right.
So we're anticipating having to hire an additional seasonal staff person to help with the watering. But then
another watering tank.
And then we got to build another watering tank, set up for the vehicle. But we talked about other 200 buying them in bags or buckets. Did we decide? Bags. And having them staged at the Urban Forestry Center, and so have it set up, and then have a specific weekend where we get people to come and we do a quick demonstration on how to do it properly. We'll have the video online reference to that. So the assistance putting together the marketing type or the outreach information would really be a great assistance. And working with the 400 on that side would be good. I don't know if AJ or Chuck, if there's anything else that you guys wanted to add.
So like with our tree planting video, it shows exactly how to plant a tree properly. It'd be helpful if whoever that was, even if they did a card that sent. Now everyone has a smartphone, it seems like,
or attached to the tree or something.
So be attached to the tree, or when they pick up their tree, they get that card. And you could do a QR code, going right to that link, or you could just have the link, either or. But that would be That'd be awesome, because then everyone would at least have the opportunity to see how to plant these trees.
So basically, what we're going to do is order in some trees. We're working with Rolling Greens on this. They're going to handle the wholesale end of things and everything else, but basically the tree is going to show up in a bag that's like about the size of a 5-gallon pail, a little bit shorter. Some of them are cloth bags with handles, some of them are not. The tree is, you can pick it up, throw it in the back of your minivan type of deal. 4 to 6 feet tall, depending on the species. We've selected some species, but we don't know what we'll get until you put the orders and everything else. But we're looking at sweet gums, dogwoods, oaks, bald cypress to throw an evergreen in there, sourwood for a small tree, So the intention is to order, blocks of, 50 or so of each one of these species. Chuck and I will work on that. We won't get confirmation on what we're getting until mid-September. The trees would be shipped out to us during the dormant season, so sometime early March. We're going to have to babysit them at my place for a few weeks or months, from basically March to early April. The intention would be second, third week or whatever of April to give us enough cushion, depending on when it ships, how it ships, and everything else, to get the trees out to folks early April, before blood break, before we have to worry about all kinds of issues with watering. We know we're going to have to water these trees. We may have to stake them, we may have to cover them, we may have to deal with frost, but Peter and I and Chuck can, we'll work out the mechanisms for those kind of things. But the intention is to do it right at the top of my parking lot. So we'll just let folks, come in. We can circle a lot of cars through there. We may have to, do a pickup 8 to noon for you guys for certain sections of the town or whatever, and noon to 4 for different sections, just so we don't get loaded with cars. But we can handle several hundred cars in there at once, but we can look for festival trees. So it's not too bad like that.
You know how to do that.
Yeah. So we were looking at doing it at the recycling facility, and it just too many cars and too much space, and holding on to the trees would be difficult. So that's what we're going at. We need to order the trees this week. So we're going to be working with that. We've already got a commitment out of Eversource to provide some funding either directly to the nursery or to this. They committed 10 trees, and we all agreed that we could sort of shift 10 large trees into a bunch more smaller trees. So we were to, we had those conversations already, and so they're willing to commit some fund to that. We're going to put some funding into this out of our facility. Peter already has some funding to pull together for this, so the funding and the mechanisms, everything's turning and everything's coming ahead.
Yeah, and Rotary has contributed, I think, $15,000 towards this as well.
Fabulous. And this is under the legacy pillar of the 7 pillars of the 400th.
Awesome.
Okay. Isn't that awesome? I know, legacy makes sense, right? It's fabulous.
So people will be able to pick up some soil if they need it at our place as well. Some, we'll have to put together some kind of package if they can bring a bucket or a box or whatever else, because they may be planting rough ground when they get home. So we'll try to have some either soil or compost stuff available, and we'll have our wood chips if they want to do bark mulch or whatever else.
That's great.
So we're going to need a lot of you guys. We've already planned on you guys coming into this mix.
Oh, trees and greenery are on deck.
I'm
blanking.
It'll be madness for a whole day for Saturday. The thought was to do it Saturday, something early April. Directing traffic and making sure the trees got tagged and getting the right tree and all those kind of things. And so we'll need some, logistics as that comes around and stuff. Everybody else there gets dirty. We'll try to plant at least a couple of these trees right at my place early on. So people come look at them, see where we're going, even if we have to move them out of that location. In that process, Chuck's got staff that's going to take a video of the process of planting ones in the bag. The idea is that, it's just a cloth bag. So it's easy to transport, easy to handle, and it really makes sense to just take it off. It just kind of fits in people's mindset. So these trees work out great. If you want to see the trees online, you can look up Vigoro liners. Bigger liners. Yeah.
How do you spell that? Bigger
liners. Vigorliner, all one word. So it's Schmidt's Nursery. It's all wholesale only. You can at least look online and see the products.
Well, that's nice of Beth at Rolling Green to know about. I happened to run it at the shop and happened to talk to her, I guess, the morning when you guys were going to talk to her. It was just a coincidence, and she was excited, but didn't know how much she could help out. So
it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of logistics.
Yeah,
we all agree that it's not worth. It's going to show up in a tractor truck. We got to handle these trees 10 times. By the time they get out of the back of the truck, move them over there, line them up, check them, all that kind of stuff. We're going to try to do it at their place, and it's a big burden to put onto them.
It is.
That time of year.
Yeah.
So we had all talked about the brick, it's going to come up to my place before this comes down, and we'll work it out that way.
Okay. Maybe we can connect them with the 400 support.
Sure, somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Any fruit trees? Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
We didn't do any fruit trees.
The health officer tends to frown on adding fruit trees because of vector attraction, because of rodents and other stuff. Okay. So people can do that, but the city doesn't want to promote it.
Okay. 100. Well,
one more historical item that might be both instructive and inspirational. I found a pamphlet at the FD about the dedication of Langdon Park, which is a park across the street from the City Hall. And it was dedicated in 1876. And with great fanfare, they had bands and everything. But they solicited from the citizens of the area 100 trees, and they ended up with over 600. I don't know where they put them all, but they're all listed in this pamphlet. If any of you, which I made a copy of, if any of you want to look at it.
That would be, you know, if we can make scan that and put it online,
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. You know, put it in the parks and greenery portion. That'd be really neat.
Wow.
yeah, they have the species and the donors' names and so on and so forth.
Do you have that scanned, Dick? Is that, do you have a digital version of it?
I do not, but I can get one from the FD.
Okay, that'd be great if I'd love to get that posted.
Yeah,
Oh, this is fabulous.
excellent.
For the folks that are kind of new onto the committee and stuff, years ago, we took down that big red oak. We tracked the history of that red oak backwards into this process.
Yeah, I think there's still a couple of trees from that original planting that are still with us.
Yeah.
How old do you think that big oak on the corner is? Is that it's a red oak on the?
That's old. That's very old.
The one that we took down was over 200 years old. The one on the corner of
Lincoln.
This one's got to be close.
the center was rounded out, so we can't. You know,
Yeah.
I mean that tree, you know, was 6 feet wide at the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is close to 6 feet, I'd say.
Yeah, that one up on the corner is just
You know, it's
beautiful.
got to be a private, it's the original.
Yeah.
Has everyone here seen that Dawn Redwood in the backyard on Richards Avenue?
yes.
Have not seen that.
Well, our own Dawn Redwood, which we planted just a few years ago, it's really flourishing.
Yes.
It's doing
Yeah,
great.
there's a few of them around, but this particular one is the library. There's that playing field right next to the library,
Yes,
kind of borders the middle school.
yes.
If you just look into someone's backyard right there, you can't miss it. You don't have to go into their backyard. It's 100.
Yeah, we can see it from here.
It's 100 feet tall, but it's or close to it. But
It's the state champion.
yeah,
It is
take a look at that. That's
Yeah.
and now envision that right in the South Mill parking lot or up here at City Hall in 100. Well, they go pretty quick, 60 years.
Well, I can't envision
It'd
it
be pretty
actually.
cool. It'd be pretty cool.
That's fabulous. That's great.
Hey, any thoughts on that spruce that got hit by lightning? It looks like it's starting to decline to the point where it's.
I can take a look. Yeah, we just because of we were really using it as like a science experiment to just see how quickly it declines. But last I checked, it was in decline, still had life, but I can take another look.
Yeah, it looked like it was from a distance. The top looked dead.
That might be an area where we could do another habitat spar.
Yeah.
But I'll take a look.
Okay.
What's a habitat spar?
Habitat spar is actually an informational sign in Langdon Park as to what they are. Go check it out. It's one of our interns. Right at Lincoln, there's that little entrance to this section of Langdon. It tells there's a habitat spar there and a sign that Emily made, one of our interns, but it's really habitat. This particular one had like cavity in it, so there's potential for cavity nesters, squirrels, birds of prey can land on top of it to use for perch, various critters. So it's kind of like, what we'll do is if there's a tree that, such as this one, it was a sugar maple that the whole top was dead. It had some little life on the bottom and we'll cut it down and we'll make like jagged edges. It's called a coronet cut. And it mimics storm damage. And then we'll leave the scar, and wildlife loves those scars.
Nice.
But there's a right location for it. You know, we won't do it in the middle of Prescott Park or something like that. We're going to do it that's kind of semi-wooded in Langdon or same with where the spruce is in Langdon. You're surrounded by other trees. There's more wildlife, whereas we're not going to do it at Goodwin Park would be kind of a weird area to do it. For example, it's more of a urban groomed.
Our education of the day, Pat. We always appreciate learning something new.
Okay, is there any unfinished business, old business? What's the status of Panama?
We're planning on having another public discussion starting in September. The project was postponed. We're moving forward with Lincoln Avenue sidewalks, but we're not. Both Panaway and Maple Haven are on hold to have gather additional public input. There's a feeling out of Panaway that the process got railroaded by a minority. That there's a lot of feedback from the residents out there, like, we wanted the sidewalks, why are you stopping? So we'll get more input and be clearer about the tree removal in that way, and nobody can claim they didn't understand.
Will these be public meetings
Yeah.
that if we wanted to attend?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So they'll be noticed.
They'll be posted, yet noticed.
Thank you.
Unlike this one.
Oops.
Any further business?
I do want to, condolences to Peter, as he has now broke his perfect attendance, Peter Long. He now has no perfect attendance, sad. He's so proud.
For 22.
Right.
Right.
Okay, if there's no further business, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. You've done a lot of good work on that. It would be great. I'll maybe see in the minutes, what she posted in the minutes, and maybe I'll just excerpt that and